EastEnders didn't just start Christmas week with a twist. It quietly delivered one of its most powerful episodes of the year, and it all revolved around Nigel Bates. Not because of shock returns or nostalgia alone, but because of how painfully real his story felt. On the night of his film screening, Nigel becomes overwhelmed and drifts into the Vic by himself. But the pub he walks into isn't the one everyone else sees. In his mind, it's the 1990s again. Familiar faces appear. Pat Evans, Barry Evans. Not as miraculous returns, but as fragments of a mind struggling to hold on. Their presence wasn't surprising. It had been revealed weeks earlier, yet it still worked. Pat's sharp tongue, Barry's awkward singing, his familiar heartbreak. It all felt comforting and unsettling at the same time, like memories you're happy to revisit but can't fully trust. Then came Debbie, Nigel's first wife. Seeing Nicola Duffett back after 3 decades carried real emotional weight, especially as Nigel confused her with Julie, the woman who has been standing beside him through his illness. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just quietly devastating. And that theme carried through the entire episode. But the moment that truly caught viewers off guard came later. Young Phil and Grant Mitchell appeared behind the bar. No announcement, no warning, just there. And somehow, it made perfect sense. As Nigel's memories blur, time collapses. The casting was uncanny, but it was the scene itself that mattered. Watching the brothers argue over who should approach a woman, flipping a coin, only to reveal Phil had let Grant win because their mom warned them never to fall out over a girl, said everything. Through Nigel's fractured memories, we see Phil not as the hard man, but as he's always been to Nigel, loyal, protective, and quietly selfless. That realization hits harder when you remember how Phil has spent the last year caring for Nigel. The past and present overlap, reinforcing something the show never spells out. Nigel has always known who Phil really is. Despite the nostalgia, the episode never lost sight of the present. Paul Bradley's performance anchors everything. His portrayal of Nigel is erratic, vulnerable, and frighteningly recognizable. Nothing feels exaggerated. It's the kind of performance that mirrors real life in uncomfortable ways, and that's why it lands. Julie's pain is just as quietly powerful. Every time Nigel calls her Debbie, you can see her heartbreak, the kind that doesn't explode, but slowly wears you down. That's why the smallest moment becomes the most beautiful. When she realizes Nigel has correctly written her name on a Christmas gift tag, it feels like a victory, a fleeting one, but a meaningful one. And then comes the hardest truth. Phil finally admits he can't do this alone anymore. For him, that means breaking a promise he made months earlier. When he tells Nigel, there's no anger, no confusion, Nigel understands. He lets him go. EastEnders has had a turbulent year shifting into a new era, but Nigel's story has been one of its strongest threads, and this episode proves why. It's not just memorable, it's honest. And long after the Christmas decorations come down, this is the installment people will still be thinking about.